Now, today, I've got a good friend of mine on the show, and I'm so proud to finally get him on the podcast. We've been wanting him on the show, I think, for near on 3 years, and somebody who lives locally to me and see his profile grow and become the celebrity name that he now is in the industry has been just brilliant to see that journey. So that's why this interview is one of them interviews that I've looked forward to for such a long time. So delighted to welcome onto the podcast Daniel Granger. Daniel, welcome to How to Cut It.
Hey, thanks for having me, Don. Thanks for having me. Finally we got here.
You say, Daniel, without those dreams, do we actually, is that gives us the aspirations to go on and want to achieve greatness?
I mean, it's like a mediocre life is definitely not what I was given. Or, you know, it's my adventures through life, testing myself, like just building myself. It makes me feel alive, you know, truly alive. And then the bigger you grow, the more success comes with that, the more, you know, the profile you get and everything else. And it's never been, it's never been about the money. It's been about the excitement, you know, but what makes me tick.
I love that. And that's really interesting. You said it's never been about the money.
Oh, don't get me wrong, I like money. I like money. I like the things it can buy with it. And, you know, I'm sat in my salon, which I own. You know, I don't rent it, and I built it, and everything that I do to it is mine. And it's, you know, it's there for my children. It'll be passed down through the family. And, you know, that's a big thing for me, is legacy.
You know, somebody that wants something, and if you want it, you're going to get that.
I'm just one determined individual. I think when the worst things happen to you, the absolute rock bottom happens to you, nothing else can touch you. You become almost like a little bit more immune to the stuff. You know, you become somebody that is your own superhero. I know that sounds a bit strange, but it's kind of like you just feel that you can just put a goal down and reach it. And I'm a little bit more on the spiritual side of things as well, you know, connected with, you know, the universe and whatever, all that Harry Potter stuff that goes out there. But I really kind of believe in it, because the things that happened to me when I was younger, including like the good stuff that happened, always leads into something else. And I manifest that. I dreamt of that. I set challenges and goals, because then I knew where I needed to work to. It was almost like I put it down on paper and then it appeared. Like my salon now, I swear to you, I wrote this down. I dreamt it up. I dreamt this. You'd walk into my foyer and there would be this massive feature, and it would have water running down it. I don't have a water feature upstairs, but it's definitely a massive feature when you come in. So how did I know that my salon was going to be tall and grand and, you know, big rooms? And I put that down. Even the house I own, even the car that I own, I wrote that down when I was about 18.
And I want you to take me back to an early young child of Daniel, where maybe life did take you off in a very different pathway, that maybe, you know, a difficult period in your life. So maybe just take us back to that point of a young.
You're going to make me cry now, aren't you?
I'm interested. I want to hear.
Yeah,
well, me too, Dan. So it's great.
My father was a architect. He was a builder. So I always wanted to be a builder. You know, I wanted to build things from the ground up. Sadly, this part of my life does define me, and I talk about it a lot because I'm part of a, you know, mental health sort of act. And my father was mentally poorly, and on several attempts of trying to kill himself, he was successful one day on Christmas Day. That changed my life forever, because he was the only person that would save me. I was not very well looked after as a child. There was many bad things that would happen to me as a young man and boy, sometimes by my own family. I didn't feel safe unless I was with my dad, so I lost that safety net, and now I'm alone. And that was a big thing to take on. About 8 years old, I kind of lost myself, went into myself.
8 years of age.
I was 8 years old Christmas Day, man. That rips you apart. You know, you're running down the stairs to find presents under the tree, and I remember the phone call my mum took, and we went down. My dad's going to pick me up for Christmas. I lived with my father, you see, for a long time, but he couldn't look after me, and I didn't know why. He sent me back home, and I came down the stairs, and she was on this phone. I remember the phone being a big bright red one, a cord coming from it, and she just looked at me and my brother and just gasped. She jumped from one sofa to the other and just started wailing. And
did you know straight away there, Dan? Did you just think, I know what's happened here?
No, I was in denial. I was like, that's not real, that's not real. And I really didn't believe it for a long time. I went into myself. I was recently speaking to my mum because I'm writing my own book. Someone wants to write about my life, of how I got there, because it's very interesting. I mean, we'll give you a little brief there. So after my father died, I went into myself and I created my own dream world, using meditation at such a young age. And then from there, even my mum's life kind of like went downhill as well, because they were separated. My mum brought in different people into our lives, and I rebelled a bit more and I disappeared. So then I found myself at 13. I got into hairdressing then, with a pair of clippers and a comb, plastic handle pair of scissors. I've told the story many times, and I learned to communicate through hairdressing and have people around me, and it gave me a sense of belonging. It was a real purpose in life, a real kind of like, I'm wanted and I'm good at something. And it was almost like when I cut hair, I'm just in this my own little safe world, and I loved it. That's where the addiction came for hairdressing, and it is an addiction, and I wanted to be good at it. I didn't even know it paid a job. It was just something I did. I've never really dug too deep. I'm digging deep now, right in this time where I've got time, that I can suffer in silence, through this time that we've been given, and that I am writing about all these memoirs, all these diaries that I have stored in my head. I mean, we're only built on memories. That's all we are, is just a big bunch of memories. And that, defines us as a person today, and our character and our choices. Everything is a memory, and they're bouncing around in there, and it's good to get them out. So I'm writing them down. How did Daniel get here? And I'm writing this down. So it's kind of like, it's fresh, and it's strange, because there's things that I never remembered, and now I'm going, that's why I do what I do today. That's why I am the person I am today. That's why I make those choices. That's why I've got this fire in my belly to do better. So eventually I found a way of just self-help, self-healing, a bit more on a spiritual level. I was I went into a religious commune called the Jesus Army.
Northamptonshire, the Jesus Army.
They're spoken badly about, but they're not.
Did they help you then, Dan?
I was begging on the streets. So opposite McDonald's, this Happy Snaps, that alleyway, that was my alleyway where I begged for food. And I was on the streets for quite a long time. I was in the summer though. It was in the summer, one outfit, and I just went along. I moved away from the chaos that was at home. And it was a bad place to be, and I just got out of there, and I just thought, right, 13 years old, I'm independent, I'm learning here, I'm going to survive here. I don't know what tomorrow brings, but it did. And then it took a lot of trust to get into that person's car that then took me to this farm, and they gave me a bed, and they put me in the bed, and they've set me up. And the only thing I can kind of resemble was, if you ever watch that film, Pursuit of Happiness, with Will Smith, and he puts his son and him, and the bed's creaking, you don't want to move because you're scared. That was my life. That was me that day. But then the next day I woke up, and I knew that it was a safe place, a place of religion, a place of where there were other like-minded people like me, and I went along my way. But then I was fostered a few months later, and my foster parents really taught me a lot. That my lessons were really learnt there. I wore the chip of my youth on my shoulders for a long time, but they taught me that the world owes you nothing. The world owes you nothing. It's to stop being a sad story. Just get up and get on. You've been given a second chance. And there's the life of me and my brother I was very close to, and we saw two different paths. I focused on my career, on a life, and I was saved. I mean, my brother later died, and he was 31 years old. He took his own life as well, mental illness. He was a heroin addict, rock star. And I, on the other hand, was the forgotten child, because he was the one that was always tended for. Oh, what's Wayne doing? What's he up to? And I just got on, and that's it. I just relied on myself. Nobody else is going to make this happen but me. I decide what happens to my life. Not always good. Sometimes I make some really, really shit choices. Really shit. But I've made a lot of good ones.